This presentation, of course, is going to talk about falls prevention, and we're going to talk about how to control your chances of falling, or to decrease your chances of falling, because there may be different causes of falls, and there may be many different things that you can do to be safer. So we're going to learn what you can do to decrease your chance of falling. But first, I'd like us to take a survey, and this is something you don't have to write down. Just make a mental note if you agree or disagree with the statements I'm about to read, but it's a falls prevention attitude survey. So the first statement is falling should be accepted as a natural part of growing old. And so just make a mental note if you agree or disagree with that. Most falls cannot be prevented. 3, reporting a fall to a doctor could lead to a restriction of my independence. 4, if I report a fall to a doctor, she or he may think that I can't take care of myself. 5, if I report a fall to a relative, she or he may think that I can't take care of myself. 6, my doctor is a very busy person and shouldn't be bothered with my concerns about falls, if I should have any. And 7, my nurse is a very busy person and shouldn't be bothered with my concerns about falls, if I should have any. And then 8, falling is humiliating. So we're going to stop there and just to yourself state whether you agree to any of those questions, because answering any of these questions as an agree could be a reason for not reporting a fall to your healthcare provider. And so by not seeking help or discussing the fact that you fell with a provider, you're denying yourself to find out what really caused the fall. And so knowing why a fall occurred is the first step in preventing future falls, and they are preventable. So let's go on. There's 4 more statements, and then we'll talk about it some more. Number 9 is even when it is not wet or slippery outside, I avoid leaving my home sometimes to avoid a possible fall. 10, almost every day I think about the fact that I could fall and hurt myself. 11, I am generally nervous when I walk. And 12, there are things that I would like to do but don't do because I'm afraid that I might fall. So if you answered agree to any of those questions, this can mean that you are fearful of falling. Stress is your body's response to anything that leaves you feeling pressured or threatened. It is a demand on your body causing you to adapt, adjust, or respond to a particular stressor. Stress is not always bad. It often motivates us or pushes us to try a different way of doing things. However, if your fear of falling is keeping you from doing the things that you like to do, you need to talk to your healthcare provider about it. And I know that I agreed to a few of those questions or statements. So sometimes I do think I'm going to fall, but I know that I can have options not to fall. So falls are common. 1 in 4 people age 65 and older falls each year. And those who fall are at least twice as likely to fall again. And 24% of falls require medical treatment or restricted activity for at least a day. And you might have guessed that more than half of all falls occur at the house. And then falls are the leading cause of death from injury in this age group. And that's just a little bit of statistics I wanted to share with you. So there's something called the cycle of immobility. And we mentioned that there was fear of falling a few minutes ago. So how does this fit into fall risk? When someone has experienced falls, they naturally develop a fear of falling and limit their mobility. They may stop going to restaurants or visiting family, doing their grocery shopping. They might walk differently. And this change in activity decreases mobility. And then it decreases the strength and endurance of your body. And those two things are going to lead to an increase in falls. Once you've fallen, your fear of falling becomes even greater, and the cycle just starts right on around again. So we're going to talk about some appropriate interventions to reduce fall risk and ways that you can take steps to remain independent and in control. Okay, I'm not forwarding here. There. So this is a risk for falling checklist, and I'll just go through this real quick, and you can just note in your head whether it's a yes or a no, but it's a few statements, and we'll talk about why that matters. So, I have fallen in the past year. That matters because people who have fallen once are likely to fall again. I use or have been advised to use a cane or walker to get around safely. And people who have been advised to use a cane or walker may already be likely to fall. Sometimes I feel unsteady when I'm walking. Unsteadiness or needing support while walking are signs of poor balance. I steady myself by holding on to furniture when walking at home. So this is also a sign of poor balance. I am worried about falling. People who are worried about falling are more likely to fall, and that goes back to that cycle that we just talked about. I need to push with my hands to stand up from a chair. So this is a sign of weak leg muscles, and that's a major reason for falling. I have some trouble stepping up onto a curb. This is also a sign of weak leg muscles. I often have to rush to the toilet. Rushing to the bathroom, especially at night, increases your chance of falling. And incidentally, bathrooms are the place in the home that you fall the most. I have lost some feeling in my feet. Numbness in your feet can cause stumbles and lead to falls. I take medicine that sometimes makes me feel lightheaded or more tired than usual. Side effects for medicines can sometimes increase your chances of falling. I take medicine to help me sleep or improve my mood. Well, these medicines can sometimes increase your chance of falling as well because they can make you dizzy or lose your balance. And lastly, I often feel sad or depressed. And so symptoms of depression, such as not feeling well or feeling slowed down, are likely to increase falls. So just note whether you said yes to 4 or more. If you've got 4 or more points, then you might be at risk for falling. And I know I'm at risk for falling just by going through that. And so it may be common that people have a little bit of worry about falling, but we can talk about how to reduce that fear. So we're going to go through 4 simple steps. The first one is to get moving or exercise. 2, to talk to your doctor and pharmacist about medical vision and hearing. And 4, make your home safer. So let's talk a little bit about all of those. So of course, exercise addresses your physical state of weakness, and it's going to strengthen your legs, the muscles in your legs, and address the loss of bone tissue and muscle tissue. So there are some different ways you can participate in exercise around Greensboro, and you may have a program at your residence that you have exercise classes already scheduled there. But some other places you can do it is something called Add Health to Our Years, AHOY. And this can be found at senior centers, but it's also on the government television network, or GTN. And it comes on at 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. Monday through Friday. So this is just an exercise program to help strengthen your muscles. And then another way you can access it is through the City of Greensboro's YouTube channel. And they have about 12 sessions already up there that I looked at. And so they're pretty neat. They incorporate different types of exercises, so it's not the same thing every time. Tai Chi is also an exercise that's gaining in popularity. It's been shown to increase balance. It also helps increase your coordination, body awareness, strength, and flexibility. Then we have aerobic exercise such as power walking. We've got silver sneakers up there, water aerobics. All these things are going to are very good for you, and they help build strength and balance as well. So the second thing I wanted to mention of the simple steps is to just talk to your doctor. If you have 3 or more medical conditions, you're more likely to fall, so you'll want to talk to your doctor about that. And often patients decide not to share whether they've fallen or not with their doctor, and there are usually 2 reasons for that. And one is the patient thinks it's not important, but it is important so that the healthcare professional can help you figure out what's going on for the reasons you might be falling or close to falling. And fear, people are afraid that they might lose their independence. Maybe family members will decide to, will have undesired reactions. But the healthcare professional can make referrals to others that can help you take steps to reduce falls and fall risk and let you remain in control. It's important to take a few moments the day before you go to the doctor just to jot down any questions and concerns. You might find a quiet place and have a calendar with you so you can think back and try to remember if there were any near falls or falls. And you'll want to write down where, when, and how that happened. Write down if there was any dizziness or joint pain or shortness of breath. And these are all things that are going to help the doctor figure out what may be causing the falls. Medications, 4 or more medications make your risk of falling increase. So we want to check our medications, especially if we have multiple prescribers. Before in electronic medical records, we used to say to brown bag it, just to take all your medications in the original bottle to each doctor or pharmacist visit. You can still do that, but they do have the printouts that they ask you to review before each appointment of all your medications and to make sure they're correct. So you really want to make sure that they do have the correct information. So perhaps you bring a list of your current medications and compare so that there's not anything that's going to affect one another. For instance, combinations of them might present a problem with dizziness. They might react, one may make one not react or work as well as another. So just make sure that your medicines are all intact and on a piece of paper. You can also hang that piece of paper on your refrigerator. Just fold it up and put it in a baggie. And if you were to have an emergency, someone can grab that and show the EMS personnel. You'll also want to talk to your pharmacist and just get to know your pharmacist. When you're at the pharmacy getting your meds, have you ever declined to speak with the pharmacist? Often we do that. But if you are receiving a new medication, never decline to speak with the pharmacist, because we often think that we know what the doctor said, but sometimes they're such in a rush and we may not have fully understood what they said about the medication. So just make sure you know how to take the medication with the pharmacist and when to take the medication. whether it has any side effects or effects on other medications, and if there's anything else you should know about the medication. If you take it once a day, twice a day, with food or after food. So we also have assistive devices that the doctor or a physical therapist can prescribe, and these can help you walk safer in a safer manner, so you'll be less likely to fall. We have canes, walkers, of course, and what I often hear about or find is that people may either have been prescribed these items and don't use them, or they're using them improperly. So it's really important to understand how to use them correctly and do so every time you start walking if you are prescribed one of those items. You can also find some special step stools if you're having to use step stools. We don't recommend using step stools because that does increase your chance of falling. It's better just to ask somebody else to help you reach something. But if you do, there's step stools with handrails on them that you can purchase. And of course, I think we all know about the reachers that will help you grasp something above your head. The third thing we want to do is check our vision and hearing, because individuals with vision problems are more than twice as likely to fall as people without vision problems. These problems can affect balance, the ability to walk, upper and lower body strength, eye diseases like glaucoma, cataracts, macular degeneration, diabetic retinopathy. In normal age-related visions changes can cause blurry or distorted vision, sensitivity to bright lights or glare, difficulty seeing objects, problems seeing edges and changes in surfaces, difficulty seeing at night, problems judging depth and distances. So those are all serious issues we have, and that can greatly affect our risk of falling. So make sure you're having your eyes checked up at least once a year, and whenever your vision changes, and share any concerns you have about your vision with your doctor. You could ask for large print labels on your medications if you need them. And if you wear your glasses or contact lenses, make sure your prescriptions are up to date. And if you have eyeglasses and are still have trouble seeing, ask your doctor about low vision services. And then there's also, after you visited the eye doctor and perhaps you've been prescribed some bifocals or trifocals, trying to adjust to those can cause us to get off balance because of the way our eyes just aren't used to them yet. And it can make us fall or stumble because of I don't know how to say it, but I wear bifocals and just sort of distorts your perception a little bit. We also want to talk about hearing. Hearing loss, patients are nearly 3 times more likely to have a history of falling if they have hearing loss. And it just goes up, the risk is greater with greater hearing loss. And dizziness, balance disorders, and vestibular dysfunction can be directly related to inner ear health. So we want to make sure we're getting our ears checked as well. So the fourth step was to make your home safer, because mentioned earlier, most or over 50% of falls occur at the home. So let's discuss some of the areas in the home that we might need to address. If you have any stairways, you need to have enough light to see each step and at the top and bottom landings clearly. You'll want to have lighting that you can turn off and on both at the bottom of the stairs and at the top of the stairs. You need to make sure that the stairs are in good repair. You don't want to have any loose rungs or boards. You want to get those taken care of promptly. Sometimes stairs are carpeted, and the pattern or the dark carpeting on the stairs can cause our vision to get blurry, and we lose perception of the stairs. So just make sure that if you are on that type of carpeting, you're going slow, and that you have handrails, hopefully on both sides of the stairs. That way you can hold yourself as you walk up or down. Now, I am really bad about leaving objects on my stairs that I need to take up the stairs. But we don't recommend doing that, of course. But sometimes habits are hard to break, and I need to work on that as well. So always make sure your objects or items are put away and not left on stairs. And that goes for bedrooms. We want to make sure that the floors are uncluttered, that we're not leaving items around the floor or clothing around the floor that could trip us up. You want to have again, lighting is going to be important here. You'll want to have a lamp or a flashlight near the bed, or you can have night lights installed along the route between the bedroom and the bathroom. Because as I mentioned earlier, bathrooms are the #1 area in the home that people fall. So getting to the bathroom, coming back from the bathroom, that adds risk to falling. So we need that lighting. And in the bathroom, you can have some grab bars. Just make sure they're real grab bars and not, you don't want to reach for like a towel holder. You want to put a non-slip rubber mat on the floor of the tub or the shower and wipe up any spills immediately. And sometimes we put throw rugs in our bathrooms, and I was told by somebody that throw rugs throw you down. So we want to make sure that you remove throw rugs from your bathrooms, from your living area, your kitchen, because they can slip. You can slip on them, they can slip out from under you, and you can fall down. If you must use a throw rug, make sure that you're using double-faced tape or slip-resistant backing to really hold that down so it doesn't slip when you walk across it. And again, in our living areas, create a clear pathway between the rooms, making sure all of our items are cleanly put away really makes a difference. You could also remove low-rise tables and magazine racks. Some of these things we don't notice because they're so low and we end up tripping over them. So you want to make sure those are tucked away against the wall where you might not trip over them. And I don't know how many people I've talked to, but they tend to use things that are not ladders to stand on. And like I said, if you need to get something that's above your head, ask somebody to help you get it, use a reacher. But if you have to use something, use a step stool that has a handrail. Please don't use stools or chairs or ladders that are unsteady. You know, some of the ladders need somebody to help spot them. And sometimes people have cords running across their floors. So we need to have those coiled or taped next to the wall so you don't trip over them. And I find that with all the different gadgets that need to be charged at night with my kids, we have cords everywhere. So it's really important to keep those things out of the floor and any cords next to the wall. So the kitchen is often a center point of the home, and when we come in, we tend to drop things off in the kitchen. And it's designed for storing items that we have to replace often, like groceries. We're constantly bringing in items to put away. but sometimes we put them on the floor instead of putting them away right away. So that can be dangerous. If you're cooking, you need to make sure you clean up spills that may have happened, or if you dropped food, so that you don't forget about it and then trip and slip and fall. Again, there's those throw rugs. If you have loose area rugs, tack them down or use double-faced tape, slip-resistant backing to secure those down so you don't fall. Here's a picture of that step stool I was talking about. But another thing you can do for the kitchen or any other room is arrange the items you use often, like daily, so that you can reach them without having to climb up. And then if the things you use less frequently, you can put above your head in the cabinets, but just make sure somebody can help you get it back down, or if you must, you could use that type of step stool. Then we come to public fall hazards. And this is just one example of what we see around the city, and have stuff like that all in my neighborhood where the trees have uprooted the sidewalk. But it causes an impediment to the sidewalk, so you have to walk out in the street to get around it. If you walked through it, probably you're gonna get unsteady and perhaps fall. So you just want to look out for that sort of stuff if you're out and about, and just know where you might run into those hazards. Curbs can sometimes challenge us. Earlier we talked about lower leg weakness, and so if you're having trouble stepping up onto a curb, your lower legs may be very weak, and so we need to strengthen those through exercise. You know, cracks in the walkways, uneven walkways, those are all hazardous. And slippery steps. If you're going up and down steps, make sure you're at a place with a handrail, and go slowly if they're wet. We want you to wear shoes inside and outside the home, and you want to make sure they have a grip bottom, low heels, and a snug fit. Make sure they're always tied, and avoid shoes with a really thick, heavy sole. Some people like to walk around in their slipper socks with the grips on the bottom. Just be careful with those, because they can lose their grip rather quickly, you know, after you've washed them a few times. So just be aware of that, and if you use them, make sure they're in good condition. And finally, we mentioned this a little bit earlier, but if you fall, you need to write down immediately where you fell, when you fell, how you fell, what you were doing, and how you were feeling. That way you can call your doctor and provide the information. And that again tells the doctor a little bit about what might be happening and making you fall. Whether that's lower body weakness, or maybe it's medications, or there's a problem with hearing. So there's all sorts of things that could potentially be the reason for you falling, and we need to figure out why, because then we can go back and do one of those 4 steps, you know, exercise, or manage the medication, other things like that, and make sure your house is tidy. So you do want to call your doctor to provide the information as soon as you can. But if you're afraid of falling, please don't let your fear stop you from being active, because like we saw earlier, the lack of activity can make the problem worse. So if you're afraid of falling, think about why you're afraid, and think about what you could do to carry out activities that would lessen your fear of falling. So whether it's needing to hold to somebody's arm, or like I said, getting some exercise for your lower body, just think of things that can help you stay proactive And if you're afraid of falling, you need to think about balance, and perhaps we could do something to work on our balance, like Tai Chi, and the exercises also will help with that as well. But the great thing about all these tips is that it's going to help you be more healthy in general. So it doesn't just, it's not just about falls, it's about our overall health. And that's the end of the presentation, but I'll be happy to answer any questions. Okay, I think I see somebody back there with a hand up, but it's on mute. So
yeah, we just she's has the question right now, so I'm unmuted. What's the question?
What is the area that your little monitor that you can press if you fall? What area does it cover? Is it just inside your apartment, or is it in the whole building? Or
It's just in your apartment.
just inside your apartment?
It was a question for us. Sorry.
okay.
Yeah, I've been told several different things.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that your receiver your transmitter's in your apartment, or your transmitter's on you. The receiver's in your apartment. There's a chance if your door was open and you were just outside the door that it would pick up there. But otherwise, you have to be aware that's where it's kind of like using any wireless device. Mm-hmm.
And then I just posted in the chat a question about how to use assistive devices better or more properly. Do you have any tips or tricks for that?
I don't, but it'd be important to ask the physical therapist that you might have gotten it from to make sure that you're using it correctly. Make sure you take notes when you meet with that person. I don't prescribe them, and I don't really use them, so I don't have really any tips, but I do know that what causes the falls is often they are not with the person. They have them across the room, or they choose not to use them, or inappropriate footwear with the assistive device could cause a fall as well. So there's just different things that interrelate, and we need to address all of them to be able to reduce the risk of falling.
Gotcha. Any more questions before we let Leah go?
Very helpful.
Very helpful.
Thank you.
Awesome. Apparently a few people found it very helpful. So thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Of course, have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.